Hello, everybody. I'm talking today with Chris George, who's going to be our guide on the Waverley Singers Tour of Normandy, which is starting in just a few days' time. Hello, Chris.
Hello, nice to see you.
Very nice to see you, and looking forward to spending a few days with you when we get there. So why don't we start? Why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself? I mean, what's your background, and how do you come to be doing this job that you're doing now?
Yeah, well, my wife and I met in London during our studies. She's a musician as well, and we moved back to live where I'm from, which is the beautiful sunny island of Jersey. Doing my bit for Jersey tourism. And so, yeah, we lived in Jersey for a good 15 years. We set up a music school in Jersey. I'm a piano teacher, accompanist. And then in 2019, after doing that for a long time and getting things up and running, she's French and our daughter was born, was a young little girl, and we decided that France was calling strongly. And so we upped sticks and then moved across here to France and set ourselves up in Pont-l'Évêque, which is in between Lisieux and Honfleur. And we both teach at the music schools. So I'm the accompanist at the Lisieux Conservatoire and at the Honfleur École de Musique. And my wife also teaches in 3 different music schools in the area. So music tours is something that we started doing while still in Jersey. And we were organising groups coming across to Jersey to perform and to do projects with the students in Jersey. So we already had a lot of experience and lots of contacts. And then when we moved here, for a while we just did our teaching, but then I soon realised really that it would be nice just to keep up the tours and the concerts. It's so exciting organising these sorts of events. I absolutely love it. And yeah, and we decided then to launch Musique Anglo-Normande, which is the company that is behind the organising of the tour, but also just to keep up the really good relations that we built up over the years, many years now, with Club Europe, who'd always been sending us groups, always initially to Jersey, and now to France as well. So that's a relationship that works really well because there's a lot of trust on both sides. So that's how it all came about. So we had 14 groups last year, and this year we've got 35 in total. So it's a busy business at the moment.
Oh, that's fantastic, Chris. I mean, I hadn't realized that you were actually responsible for setting up Musique Anglo-Normande. I mean, I've looked at your website and it's really nice. I mean, lovely stories of particularly sort of schools and, groups coming over from the UK and having a wonderful time, and terrific testimonials on the website. So it must be a very gratifying thing to be responsible for.
Yes, yeah, no, really happy so far. Like everything, it's well, I mean, the angle that we come from really with everything that we've ever done, to be honest, has been trying to connect things up with the local young musicians in particular. So that's why most of the groups that are coming to us are school groups, and it's not only music now, but it's also just classes of the Year 7 French trip, for example. And what we do is we link them up with structures here. So we'll take a Year 7 group from England into a school, and they'll spend a whole day with the CZM. If it's an orchestra coming across, we'll link it up with an orchestra from the conservatoire, and they'll do a big joint concert together. And so that's I'd say that's at the heart of what we do. But then it also works equally well for visiting groups, adult groups of either concert band style or choirs such as yourselves. Haven't had any adult orchestras yet, but certainly concert bands and choirs. It's another thing that's quite easy and comfortable for us to organise alongside.
So linking people up is clearly a really important part of it, and a long tradition really of sort of twinning and all the rest of it, and really powerful for those who've done it. But I mean, and of course you've linked us up with the French choir, the Ensemble Vocal Gabriel Fauré, and that's going to be absolutely great to have the chance to perform with them in the same concert.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's yeah, I mean, there's nothing, to be honest, it just works from every single possible angle I can think of. It works because it's good for the two groups involved to meet people from different countries, adults just as much as children. It's also good for bums on seats for simple things like having a healthy audience. And it just gives a nice feel to the concerts rather than, and we did try this before, but rather than just try to organize a concert, put up posters and just expect the public to come, it's quite a stressful thing to do from my point of view, because there's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders from the groups that come that need to have an audience to perform to. And it's not always that simple. As good as a school might be and as much of a nice sounding name they might have, you can't just expect an audience to come along, because there's a lot of concerts that go on and everybody has their own following. So I think linking groups together was, yeah, that was from day one the one of the main aspects of our organization, really.
Well, I think it's also really something to look forward to from our side as well. And of course, we're also going to have the pleasure of being accompanied by a French organist, Fanny Cousseau. And yeah, I don't know whether you saw, but Richard, our conductor, our music director, when I did a sort of one of these interviews with him and Philippa, our tour manager, a couple of weeks ago, he made the point that actually sort of singing music in the place where it's really meant to be performed, where it comes from, makes it rather special. So Richard's an organist, and I'm sure he'll really enjoy conducting the Forêt with Fanny playing the organ as well. And is she at Chartres Cathedral? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So in fact, funnily enough, we're just trying to sort out with her because she's got so many train trips to do back and forth that I'm trying to convince her to stay the night, and that so she can just stay in the Hermitage with you all for the weekend. So we'll see about that. But she's she's a great organist, and she stepped in really to accompany the Forêt. And it's interesting, isn't it, that you're singing Forêt with the Ensemble Vocal Gabriel Fauré. The whole thing is just somehow just very neatly come together, hasn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? You couldn't have scripted that one, but well done you anyway. So we've talked a bit about the sort of philosophy, your philosophy, and which sort of lies behind our itinerary. But let's just sort of talk briefly about the itinerary. We've got a couple of concerts. And why don't you just tell us where they are? And they're both in rather special places, I think.
Yeah. So, well, the first evening you'll be rehearsing in the crypt of the Basilica, which it's beautiful, very, very beautiful space. It's quite breathtaking, actually, the Basilica. It's at Lisieux. So then the first concert's in Honfleur on the Saturday evening. In fact, there'll be two very different concerts because the Saturday evening in Honfleur at the Église Sainte-Catherine, it's an incredibly busy place, just with footfall. Honfleur is absolutely crammed over the weekends when the weather's nice, which it will be. So there'll be people flooding in from outside, wandering around the church. There'll probably be people sitting at the back listening and then maybe leaving, and then other people arriving. It'll be that sort of a concert where it'll just be a flow of people, which will be very different for the Sunday, which will have more of a sort of, I don't know, more of a formal element to it, singing in the crypt of the Basilica. And that'll be on a Sunday when both choirs you'll all be singing your full programs, and listening to one another. And then obviously the friends and the families of the Lisieux choir, along with just a general public linked to the Basilica, will be listening to that concert. But that'll be in a kind of quiet, enclosed space. Whereas the Saturday it'll just be a very busy church with people coming and going, but quite exciting.
That sounds terrific. I mean, that's great. I mean, it's amazing, by the way, when you say to people over here that we're going to perform in Honfleur, how many Brits seem to have been to Honfleur? I mean, it's obviously a very beautiful place at on the coast and lovely harbour and all the rest of it. But
It's, I mean, from my point of view, in the summer when I go to teach there and try to get to the music school, it's horrendous. I wish all the tourists would just go away.
You should try walking over Westminster. You should try walking over Westminster Bridge in London in June or July.
No, yeah. Everyone's in the middle of the road taking a photo of Big Ben, aren't they? Blocking the traffic. Yeah. Yeah, I've done that.
And then the Basilica, you mentioned the Basilica, but is it true that it's the second most visited religious site in France after Lourdes, I think?
Yeah. So it's over 2.5 million visitors each year. Yeah, I mean it's a hell of a building. Yeah, I mean it's the two accommodation centres. You could almost view the entire town of Lisieux really as a kind of home for the Basilica. And it's full of people all year round that come and stay in the hotels, that stay in the Hermitage, where your group's going to be staying, to visit the Basilica. And yeah, so it's an impressive building. I often say to the school groups that go and visit, I challenge them to count the number of mosaic tiles, and whoever gets the closest wins, because I know from them how many square meters of mosaics are make up the Basilica, because it is breathtaking, the mosaics. And then you can work out approximately how many tiles there are per square meter. And so I've got the answer if you wanted to play that game yourselves.
Well, yeah, I think you should set us that challenge as well. Yes, I won't ask you the answer now. Give it a
No, quite right.
Is it true that it seats 4,000 people, the Basilica itself?
Yeah, the main Basilica is vast. That's why we're singing in the crypt.
Yeah.
Because when you sing, we've done this with groups before that have accompanied some of the big mass services in the Basilica, in the main Basilica. But yeah, the reverb, once you've finished singing a note, it takes about, I don't know, 30 seconds for the note to disappear. And so it just goes on and on and on and on. And so singing choral repertoire in there, it's really tricky. They have to mic up the choirs. The organ is really badly situated, so the viewing point isn't very good. And they've got like a 2-second delay on the cameras that go for where the conductor is and where the organist plays. So it's just a recipe for total disaster trying to do anything seriously choral in the main Basilica.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a relief we're not singing there, but we are singing in the crypt, which is not small either. I mean, I think that seats about 800, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. It's big in size itself, but the ceilings are lower, so the acoustics nicer, and the organ is situated just off to the side with perfect viewing point. So where the conductor conducts from, the organist is literally just direct viewpoint. So yeah, it works really nicely.
Terrific. Well, if it's got over 2 million visitors a year, then we might get a few drifting into our concert on Sunday night.
Well, yeah. I'm sure there'll be people around, and Steve, there's posters up already. So and it's going into the newspapers on, I think, Tuesday, tomorrow, and then Friday's newspaper, which is the big one for the weekend events and everything, and Saturdays. So it's in Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. So we'll see.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic. Really great. Really, can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to performing in both those venues. It sounds really terrific. And of course, we talked about the concerts, but there's quite a lot going on outside of the concerts. I mean, we're going to do a bit of tourism as well while we're there. You've lined up some nice sort of visits for us in Honfleur, museum visit, Maison Eric Satie visit, boat trip, I think, for the adventurous. So that's also something to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the Saturday morning in Lisieux for the market, that'll be nice. So central, the market on Saturday morning, so a really big market off the main place in the middle of town, and it stretches out and spills onto the streets. So I really like the Saturday market in Lisieux. Actually, it's lovely. And then Honfleur, it'll be a nice sunny day, so it'll be plenty to get on with. And the various activities like you said. And then the Sunday is the potential. Well, a lot of you will be going to the village of Beuvron-en-Auge, which is a very, very pretty, couldn't get more typically Norman village, with very pretty little houses with thatched roofs and half timbered architecture. yeah, it's very just pretty quaint place to walk around. Lots of little shops and things to look at.
And then on Monday, on our way back to the ferry, we're going to have the privilege
Normandy.
of
Yeah,
singing at the recently opened memorial at Vers-sur-Mer
yeah,
to commemorate the D-Day landings, which of course we all saw on our television screens here at the recent
yeah,
D-Day commemoration, because that's where the main ceremony took place. So I mean, again, that'll be
yeah.
a fantastic privilege to be able to sing something appropriate there, which we're really looking
Yeah,
forward to.
definitely. No, it's lovely, and also the art exhibition that's with all of the black statues of the fallen soldiers, which fill up the hillside. It's really, yeah, it's really quite moving to see, and we've got lots of groups visiting the memorial. They've just opened a big education centre there too, actually, that opened literally just a few weeks ago, just before the big celebration. Well, celebrations is the wrong word, but the big commemorations of the D-Day landings. So yeah.
Well, I can assure you that we're in good shape, Chris. We had a fabulous concert on Saturday night, performing the music plus a bit more, the music that we're going to be bringing on tour. So we had a complete sellout of our concert. We had to sort of cram an extra 25 people in after we were sold out, which was terrific. And we also
Yeah,
had a really terrific retiring collection for a charity that provides bursaries to allow kids whose families can't afford it to have music lessons to learn to play an instrument. And we raised over £1,100 for that charity. So we were very buoyed up by that, and I think we're in good shape to come and do our best over in Normandy. So I suppose
wonderful. Yeah.
a final question to you would be, what's your advice? What's your advice to the tourists? What should we take to heart in advance of our visit?
Oh, blimey. Well, I think speaking as much French as possible, because funnily enough, Lisieux, it's not a kind of touristic place. So you've got two very different places, really. So it's very authentic, I feel, very authentic France, Lisieux. It's not the prettiest of towns. It was completely leveled during the war. So you could see apparently from one side to the other, it was leveled to about a meter and a half of height. So it would have been, it's such a sad story, because it would have been one of the most beautiful kind of traditional Norman architecture towns. But so yeah, you've got authentic France. So speak some French, try some cheese.
Très bien.
There's the Pont l'Évêque.
Le Pont l'Évêque, ça
Yeah.
s'impose, non?
The what?
Le Pont l'Évêque, ça s'impose.
Ah oui, ça
Quel
s'impose.
repas, le Pont l'Évêque, il faut le manger.
Il faut le manger, mais il n'y a pas que le Pont l'Évêque. Il y a le Pont l'Évêque, le Livarot, Neufchâtel, et Camembert. And everybody knows Camembert, but definitely try it. My favorite is Livarot. The Livarot cheese. So that would be my advice. Get some Livarot cheese.
Yes, I think that's your advice. So we will take that to heart, Chris, and we'll practice up our French, and we'll practice sort of ordering cheese with our repas.
There we go.
Great.
That's all you need.
Well, look, thanks ever so much for sparing the time to do this. We'll all be a bit bleary-eyed on Friday after a very early start at this end, but I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing you then.
Great, and I'll be there when you arrive.
Cheers, thanks.
Lovely. Okay, all the very best. Thanks.